So in this lesson, we are going to cover off the details and the nuts and bolts of how to effectively run a client call or a client meeting. Now, with the process that I use each month, I make an absolute point of having a client call or a client meeting at least once a month. Now, this is a formal call. Obviously, there may be other calls and conversations which happen over the weeks, but this is essentially a good and really useful point where both you and the client can come together and essentially and quite efficiently go through everything that needs to be discussed. It also helps to really minimise the actual calls and conversations which do happen in the month, which can be useful but can end up taking a lot of time and not really leading to some very valuable actions. Now, the whole point of this call is for you to take the client through everything that you have worked on, then subsequently the client can raise any questions that they want to, and this can help to set the actions for the month ahead. In terms of the actual setup for this, therefore, you really need to make sure that first of all you have established a firm time and day of when this is going to take place. Now, this works so much better than a spontaneous, oh hi, I just thought I'd give you a quick call and see how things were going, because both people are in the right mindset and they've collected all the information that they need together. With that, always try and send them a calendar invite out, because you'd be amazed at the number of people who forget that they have client calls coming up, and subsequently that just wastes even further time when you're sitting on Skype or trying to phone someone and they can't or won't answer. Once you've established that date and time, you want to send across your progress plan probably a few hours or in the morning before you take that call. Progress plan forms a central document as a part of this call because you can use it to go through everything. So you have it updated, you can send it across, and the client therefore has a few hours to look through it if there is any information which they need to go through. Again, like with the sales calls, if you can do this on Skype or do it in a face-to-face manner, which helps you to understand their body language, then do. It's a far more effective way of communicating rather than just trying to do it over the phone. When it comes to the actual call itself, if you are going to be late, try and drop them a message beforehand. You're there to essentially really make the client feel energized and happy and motivated and pleased with what you're doing. So if little problems like that do pop up, then apologize profusely because you were there for the client. When it actually gets into the conversation and the structure of how this call should go, the first thing that I always tend to do is ask them how things are going. Now, if I'm speaking to the business owner or someone very senior in the business, I will always make a point of saying, how is business? And often that reveals some good and interesting insights that you can potentially riff on later in the call. If they're a junior member of staff, so a marketing exec, for example, that you take a call with, you want to ask them just how they are. Often the fact is that they don't have broad insight and they're not particularly interested in the running of the business. So that, again, that can open up a lot of conversations about what they do in their day-to-day life and in their spare time. That helps you to understand, hobbies and interests, which potentially you might have as well. And by sharing information about that, you can really help to build rapport going forwards. After you've established those day-to-day niceties, you want to start taking people through the progress plan. The way you go about this is completely up to you. If they're very business orientated and senior, you might just jump straight to the results and go, okay, in the course of this month, we have done X, Y, and Z. Others, it might be a start at tab 1 and work through to the final tab, explaining sort of as you go as to what it is you have done in the month. The way in which you are communicating this all does need to be orientated towards the personality type of the person you're speaking to. So if they're very blue personality, so very objective and analytical, yes, you can go into plenty of detail. If they're a red personality though, and just want the top level details, do not go through everything line by line. You just want to summarize quite briefly that, yes, we have put together all your social media posts for the month, or yes, we have delivered all the content that you've set us out to do. Within all of this, there are going to be questions that you need to make a point of asking to give information and advice and various other bits and pieces that are going to help you in the job ahead. Now, they may be very tangible, i.e., can you send me the logins for this website so I can take a look at it? Other bits are going to be a lot more intangible in sort of saying, okay, well, what's currently going on in the industry? Now, all of this really helps for the client to see that you are interested in them and interested in the business. So it helps to further and strengthen the relationship you have. When it comes to nearer the end of the conversation, you want to summarize the actions of what you were going to be doing the preceding month. First of all, this just keeps everything organized, and at an implicit level, it also means that you are going to be working with them next month unless they say otherwise. Now, you could could get to the point of saying, okay, thanks for the call, we'll be in touch next month. But by being able to present them with the ideas, you know, actually what you're going to be doing, it already says, look, we're going to be working with you. So overall, it helps to reinforce that long-term involvement that you're going to have with their business. Before the call comes to an end, you want to make a point of establishing another date and another time in the next month in order to be able to have the next version of this call. Again, it's just from an efficiency perspective that rather than comparing calendars via phone and email in another couple of weeks, that something can just be booked in right then and there when both people are already sort of ready and engaged and have a calendar in front of them. Again, for the same reasons, it establishes the fact that you're going to be working with them for a long period of time. Now, with my client base, I tend to try and take these calls at the end of the month, but ultimately, if you have a large number of clients, you don't want to condense all your calls into the final week because it's exhausting. If it does come to that case, try and split them in two, so you have a batch of calls that you take for some clients at the end of the month, and you have another batch of clients that you take with at the start of the month, because it just makes life easier. So all in all, as long as you are prepared and as long as you can go through what you have done in an efficient way which resonates with the personality type of your client, it should be a really effective call. Taking calls and running meetings in this fashion is something which I was really unconfident about to start with. And I know it's something which a lot of people find similar, especially if you're new to the marketing industry, or especially if you're just unfamiliar with, you know, how exactly marketing should be communicated. But again, with all of this, it is a process of trial and error, and the more experience you have in this, the better you will do in being able to work out what to say, what not to say, and you can gauge from responses pretty damn quickly as to whether they are interested and actively listening to what you're saying, or if the client doesn't seem particularly interested, or you're not getting the responses and information you need, then it's a case of maybe reflecting on that and adjusting your style so for the next call you can make it even more effective.